evening, everybody. Welcome back to Devils United. We're back again with another preview, and it's going to be a great preview as it is against Aston Villa, and we have got Martin today. How are you doing, Martin?
Oh, good, Maisy. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you as well for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it. I know it's a Saturday. A lot of people are out partying or whatever on a Saturday, but you've got me, haven't you? So,
Well, sure. Look, on a Saturday here in Navan, it's the same shit, different weeks. I'm not missing out on much.
Before we do get on to the preview itself, we'll quickly jump into the comments. Good evening, Ravi. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. Good evening to Sophia. Thank you for coming in. Hope that you are well. Good evening to Ensman. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. And good evening to Reese. Thank you for coming in. Hope you are well. Two top sides, and we cannot afford to lose here. Villa are so damn good as well. I'm worried, especially with Watkins, Louise, Douglas Louise, and Ramsey. Do you know, I always brag about this, but like, I went to watch Aston Villa women last season, and I actually met Douglas Louise at the game, and I always brag about it because I know he used to date one of the Aston Villa women players, Alicia Lehman.
Yeah. We that's every Villa man's crush at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, so I seen him after the game, and when I seen him, I was like, "Oh my, there's Douglas Lewis!" I proper ran straight for him and got a picture of him. He probably thought, "Who's this crazy lady?"
No way.
Good evening, Luca. I'm well, thank you. I hope that you are well too. Good evening, Niall. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. P.S. Good evening, Unai Emery. Good evening as well, Vincent. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. I can see that Luke has already put his prediction in as well, and he said that he's give you a subscribe as well, Martin. We'll go into how Aston Villa has been this season because we already touched on it a bit backstage. Is that Aston Villa have really gone under the radar this season?
Yeah, and it's been absolutely unbelievable. When we had Steven Gerrard, I knew at the end of last season that we didn't have a good run. I was thinking, he should get a summer under his belt, get a few players in, and we'll see how he goes from there. But he only signed two, Kamara and Diego Carlos, which unfortunately he done his Achilles in, and then you had Kamara, who was, for me, is a standout player of the year. Now I know he's out injured at the moment, but still every Villa fan would agree with me that he's a standout player, standout sign, and he's getting all accolades from us. But then obviously the start of the season came and it was just boring football. And I mean boring. Sometimes I'd fall asleep. I went to watch Aston Villa against Crystal Palace with some of the lads from the Eagle Eye Football. And watching Aston Villa, I was asleep. I was nearly rooting for Crystal Palace. That's how shit Aston Villa were like. So, and then he ultimately got the sack. And I'll tell you this one, Unai Emery was not my first choice. I didn't even consider him because I didn't know that we could pull him in personally because of where he is and what he's done for clubs. Because he's always left the club in a better state than what he's left it in. So when he came, I was like, okay, good choice. We'll see how he gets on. I wasn't going to go overly mad about it because I did with Gerrard. Because I remember when Dean Smith got sacked, I was like, I'd have Steven Gerrard straight away. But that obviously didn't work out. Kind of bit me words a bit. So this time I was being conservative. And it's just been absolutely unbelievable. We're 10 games unbeaten. I mean, we're beating teams, smacking teams. And I went to a few games now. I've went to see them play against Leeds. And then I went to see them play against Bournemouth. And the dominance and control from Villa, it's just like nothing I've ever seen. I've had like a breath of fresh air every time I watch Villa. And Unai Emery, it doesn't matter who we're against. I just feel like this under the radar stuff has caught a lot of teams by surprise. Like, oh my god, we cannot be taking Villa for granted anymore.
Absolutely, and if I'm not mistaken, has Villa scored in every game under Unai Emery this season as well?
Yeah, 20 Premier League games under Unai Emery. He's the only manager in Premier League history to score with his team in the first 20 games, and that's an incredible achievement. Like with Aston Villa, if you had told me Aston Villa were going to score in 20 games in a row with Steven Gerrard, I would have told you to fuck off. Like, sorry for my language, but that's exactly what I'm telling you. So, but with Emery, every single game we've scored a goal. And it's not as if like we got scrappy goals and it's like, that's a scrappy goal. No, there's good quality goals. Like that's an incredible achievement. I think if the record was held by Ancelotti with Chelsea, I think he had 18 or 17. He equaled it against Newcastle, and then he went and beat it against Brentford, and then obviously game against Fulham there 1-0. So
Yeah, I do really like Unai Emery. I just think it was a shame as his first reign in the Premier League, it didn't go so well. But the way Unai Emery set up that team, I think if you was to get Europe, which is looking extremely likely you are gonna get at this point, I think you're gonna do very well because you've got some fantastic players in that squad as well.
yeah, it was just trying to get the best out of them with the right manager. I mean, if I actually look at the squad, it technically still Dean Smith's team,
Mm-hmm.
but only 2 additions from Gerrard. So Dean Smith took us to as high as we went, and I have no issues with Dean Smith. I never have and never will, regardless whether he's at Leicester or not. He took us as high as we could, took us from bad place in the Championship, got us to the Premier League, finished on 11. It was the highest he could take us, and that's unfortunately why he lost his job. So I have no issues with Dean Smith. And Unai Emery's obviously come in basically with a Dean Smith team, and he has us sitting in 5th place playing some unbelievable football. The only addition he's had to bring in was his left back, Alex Moreno, and he's been sensational since he's come in. So it's all like I'm just really giddy now about Aston Villa because I've never been giddy in my life about Aston Villa unless we were in the Championship winning the 10 in a row. So like I'm just in high spirits.
Oh, it's understandable that you are in high spirits. You've definitely gone under the radar, and it's only just been since that smacking against Newcastle, which I must be honest, I was saying it's about time Newcastle get humbled here. It's about time, and I think once you've done that, because Newcastle have had extremely high credits this season, so rightly so, just because they've been fantastic, and I think that's when really Aston Villa started to get the plaudits to say, "Oh, look, they're actually quite high up the table. Look what they've done here against Newcastle."
That's it. Unai Emery, that's the credit should really go to him and the lads as well. But I've noticed with Aston Villa that we don't particularly have a playing style that we play against every team. Emery sets himself up for a style that's going to counteract what the other team's going to do. The likes of Spurs, we beat Spurs, and that was just a sit at the back, catch them on the counter. Against Newcastle, we tried playing from at the back. We realised, right, that's not going to work. Get the ball up to Ollie Watkins, and we'll go from there. And that's just brilliant. Like Emery is just a pure tactician. If something's not working, he changes it in game, and that's the reason why we're so high up. That we have a manager that has a plan A, B, C, and D. Because you need that. You know, you might have a plan A. It would work sometimes, but it's not always going to work when you're in the highest standard of the Premier League because someone's plan A is counteracting your plan A. So you need something to come back to that. And a lot of teams get shut by surprise then. So, like Newcastle were humbled big time, and you're right. And a friend of mine's a Newcastle fan, and he was thinking, "I think we can beat you." Like he wasn't like overly cocky. Like he thinks it could be a close game, and fair enough. And then we go and smack them. So like, I didn't even bother texting because he knows damn well I would have been onto him. So, but like that game was, I just couldn't believe it. I was like 3-0 against Newcastle, and that was the same team that smacked us 4-0.
So I know you've already mentioned as well, like Unai Emery wasn't your first choice. Who was actually your first choice manager then?
My first choice was Pochettino.
Okay.
The reason being he's great with young players and he could get the best out of some lads, I felt, because when he came in Tottenham, it wasn't exactly in a good state, was it?
Yeah.
And look to where he took them. I felt like that was a project that was perfect for Pochettino. Graham Potter was probably my second choice because he was at Brighton at the time and he's a Villa fan. Well, so he claims to be anyway because he's from Solihull. And they were my top two choices. Like Emery just didn't come into it for me. I just really didn't think about him at all. But somehow we managed to grab him, and I'm delighted with that. Now I don't even want to look at anybody else.
Well, no, because I think for me, like, obviously, you already touched on slightly about Dean Smith, and I think that kind of sacking took everyone by surprise. I don't know, like, if you thought was the right or wrong choice. And Steven Gerrard, I just felt like he was out of his depths in a kind of way, just because he's never managed a Premier League club at that point. And I think for me is that I feel like for me, like, it's a massive difference between playing in the SPL and the Premier League, just because there's a lot more competitions, there's a lot more teams in there. And Aston Villa, you look at the history of Aston Villa, what Aston Villa is all about. You want to have success there at Aston Villa. I know you haven't got so much more recent success, but you've got a history of success, and I think that's what your managers are, your owners, sorry, are driving to be again.
Yeah, exactly. Like I kind of said this about Gerrard, and I've always said it, and I realised it in his manager's game that when he was a footballer, he had this little bubble that he had to be the best, and no one was allowed into this bubble. And as a player's mindset, that's a perfect mindset to have, but you can't have that mindset as a manager. Because if you've got this little bubble right now, I have to be the best manager I have to be, and you have to live by that standard. If you don't live by this standard, get out of the club. You can't do that. You need to open that bubble, let people in, let them help you. Go ask for advice. What can I do about this? What can I do about that? Or if a player comes to you with a question, answer them honestly. Don't ruthlessly outpoint them or anything like that. Like, I mean, I remember he was dropping Tyrone Mings, and I felt, don't get me wrong, I know Tyrone Mings has, at the time, had mistakes in his game, and I'd be frustrated with him. But I always felt he was still our best centre half. And he was dropped by Gerrard, pointed out by Gerrard, and then he goes and gives John McGinn the captaincy. Nothing wrong with giving John McGinn the captaincy, but he then said John McGinn's still not guaranteed his game. I'm like, but then why did you give him the captaincy if he's not guaranteed his game? Mm-hmm. That was just a thing, and I felt that Gerrard thought he could do well in the Premier League. I felt it got to his head because Rangers got to the final of the Europa League.
Mm-hmm. And being unbeaten in the SPL as well.
Exactly, because obviously you're playing against some good teams from Bundesliga, La Liga, Premier League, French League. Like, you're playing against some good quality teams. And I felt he probably thought, well, you know, if I can do well in the Europa League and I'm after winning the SPL, I reckon I can do a job in the Premier League. And don't get me wrong, every manager would think that. But sometimes you need to take baby steps. I felt that was the same with Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
He was with Derby. She got them to finish sixth. Now, mind you, Chelsea, I know, were in a transfer embargo, but he jumped at the gun. And that's what Gerrard did. He jumped at the gun, knowing a Premier League team was coming, Aston Villa. He took it. But this was a Purslow thing. This wasn't the owner's choice. This was Purslow backing his mate, and it backfired on him. And our owners have now shown a bit of a ruthless side, which sometimes you have to do. And they sacked him, and Narrative has obviously taken the mantle of saying, I'm picking a manager, that's it, and his choice is paid off. So sometimes the owners just have to step in and say, you know what, you're not having the choice, I am.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I completely agree with that 100%. And I do see what you mean there as well with Frank Lampard. And I think for me, I don't, maybe Steven Gerrard probably will get another job somewhere else. I know he hasn't been in a job for a bit since the sacking, but I do think what he did do was completely wrong at the end of the Aston Villa, where you did mention about Mings, when he called him out, he stripped his captaincy. A lot of people laugh at Mings. They do laugh at Mings, and I'm not. I'm gonna be honest. Like, there is some elements of the game he can work on, but I don't think he's one of them where he should be laughed at, he should be mocked at. Because look at him now in this Aston Villa side. He's been absolutely fantastic under Unai Emery, and with Steven Gerrard. They'll look at his Rangers bit and go, oh, look what he's done here and look what he's done here. And then they'll look at Aston Villa and go, oh, it's a bit of a rerun. Like, he'll probably get into another Premier League side, like probably maybe Nottingham Forest if they was to get rid of Steve Cooper, for instance, just because, yeah, I think that's where we'll end up going, like another mid to bottom half Premier League side.
Yeah, if that's just a Man United side talking to you that he's going to get a bottom half team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that as much.
Chris is in the chat. Hey there, Chris. Leicester women. Chris will be happy because they come out of relegation.
They bet Liverpool,
today.
didn't they? They bet Liverpool today, yeah.
And actually, they've done the double over Liverpool this season.
Oh, have they?
I think if I remember clearly, Chris might be able to back me. They beat Liverpool in the first time 2-0, and then they beat them 4-0 this time round.
I think they won. It was the FA. Yeah, no, I think it was like 4-2 or something. I think they won today.
4-2. I can't remember.
I can remember.
Let's see. Yeah, they won 4-0 today.
I was a 4-0. I thought it was 4-2. I might have seen it. No, it was. I remember seeing Palace was 4-2, and then obviously finished 4-3. So that's where I got the mix up.
Yes.
4-0.
Hey there, Rachel. Thank you for coming in. I hope that you are well. And
Rachel's obviously a big admirer of the Villa Park pod, so she's obviously come on to support myself. So thanks, Rachel, and hope you're doing well.
Really appreciate it, Rachel. Thank you very, very much for coming into the chat. And hey there as well to Brush. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. I know I'm going to go off a little bit off topic, but have you actually watched any of the Villa women this season?
Funny enough, I have. I've watched a good few games of them, and I went to the Villa and Bournemouth game, and the next day I had nothing to do, so I went and got a ticket. Went with one of the lads from the Villa Park pod with two of his kids, and great game. And I was a little bit under pressure from the start because I put out a tweet that I've never seen Aston Villa lose a game at home whenever I've gone over. So I've been to like 8 games and I've not seen one loss. I've seen like 6 wins and 2 draws in the space of like 3 years. So, and a lot of fans were telling me like, oh, get a season ticket, come over, move over, do this, do that. And I remember he said to his kids, the Villa women now are going to win against Man City today because Martin doesn't see Villa lose. And I'm like, oh, Kevin, don't put me under the pressure like that. But funny enough, Villa went on to win 2-1. And I put out a tweet going, I don't lose. And everyone was like, you can't keep getting away with this. Like, it was just brilliant. So I have seen a few games and I really do enjoy the way they play. Carla Ward is doing a fantastic job with the team. She really has, getting them to an FA Cup semi-final, first time in their history. And they're in like the top 5 of the Super League, which it's hard to probably break into that top 4 because Man City, Man United, Chelsea and Arsenal are the super teams of the women's. So for them to be 5th, and they'll build on that. So hopefully they get a good few players in next year and start challenging in that top end of the table.
I've watched a lot of Aston Villa women as well because I'm in the friends group that I am in. We've always said we really want to have Carla Ward as our next manager. Something must have happened.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we're all big fans of her.
Nice one. Yeah, so it goes to show how well she's doing. So,
I think she probably will go to maybe another club, maybe eventually. Not anytime soon because she's had massive backings, but we were saying like, oh, we'd love to have Carla Ward, and we all started becoming a big fan of her when she actually got Birmingham out of relegation with only 11 players fully fit.
Yeah, that just goes to show that she's well and capable of like working under any scenario she's given. So if she's now at a club that has such financial backing of our owners, to not just put into the men's team, the women's team, the underage team, they're putting financial back into every single part of the team. So it just goes to show the sky is the limit for Carla Ward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree. Hey there to 12 number. Thank you for coming in. Hope that you are well. Hey there as well, Tony. Thank you for coming in. Hope that you are well. Rachel has said here, if Mings isn't in the next England squad, there is an agenda. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, because as an Irish person, this is my Irish side that talks out of me. As an Irish man, I couldn't give two shits if a player gets called into England. I really couldn't. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, if a player is performing for his team, he deserves a national call up. And Mings and Watkins has been doing that, but they just can't seem to get a call up.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
think that's
Gareth
the
South,
problem, isn't it?
yeah, like because Gareth Gaussay, if I can remember correctly, had said he's picking players based on form,
Mm-hmm.
and that there would be no favoritism. But yet, the thing is, Grealish was performing for Villa for so long, not picked at all. Goes to Man City, didn't particularly have a good month. He gets picked. So, in my opinion, Gareth Southgate is only picking teams from like the so-called Big Six and
Mm-hmm.
relies on them players,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. It's like
For
how Harry
the
Maguire is getting called up to
yeah,
England, how Eric Dyer gets called up to England,
yeah,
how Mason Mount, in my opinion, gets called up to England.
yeah.
Like some of these players, I'd be like, no, like get them out, get the best. Like Tomori and Smalling should be a part of that back three for England.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that completely, and I know some Man United fans haven't been happy with Gareth Southgate because we say like you could call up Rashford, but you won't play him when he's the most informed winger this season for England.
Mm.
You look at Sancho; he hasn't had the best, but when when he first started this season, up till the first international break, he was the top goal scorer for Man United. How was he not called up then? And I think he got like I agree with Harry Maguire. He should not be called up. I think Tyrone Mings should definitely have been called up over Connor Cody, Eric Dyer.
Actually, yeah, Connor Cody's even another one. Yeah, you're right. So sorry, go
Uh,
on. Don't mind me.
and with Ollie Watkins, this is what the problem is. Is I think Ivan Toney's great. He's a really good striker, but based off these FA, this what's going on with the FA, should he have really been called up with all these betting scandals?
No, absolutely not. And I wonder what the odds were for that. No pun intended. Uh, but I felt that if there was, I don't know how many bets he'd made, but if there was any evidence to prove that he is betting, he should be banned, like a good considerable ban, and should not be called up to the England team because, like, as a footballer, you can't be going betting on games because I think he got some other people to do the bets for him, which backfired on him. So you're right, you shouldn't. Like, if someone has a gambling thing over their head, why should they be called over somebody who's performing really well?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree completely. Brush wanted to ask Martin, on a scale of nipping on Twitter to George Michael in a public restroom, how excited were you the last time you checked the Prem table and saw Villa were there?
Oh my god.
I think you've embarrassed Martin now, Brush.
No, he hasn't. That's just a brilliant comment. On a scale of nipping on Twitter to George Michael in a public restaurant. Well, let's get one thing started. It's not going to be nipping because if it was nipping, I'd be talking about this in 2 years. Anyway, uh, when I seen Villa were like fifth, I was getting a nosebleed. That's my scale now, Brush. I'm in a nosebleed section. I'm far beyond what you're just after putting up there, lad.
And Vibes is in the chat. Hey there to Vibes. He wants you to give him a wave.
That's his wave.
And he said, "Go on, Martin," flashing his 50k Rolex.
It's not even a Rolex.
my! I'm getting a little bit of tears now. We'll go on to the predicted lineups. What you kindly sent me one. So let's get yours up first of all. I don't know if you want to touch on it a little bit.
No, yeah, like I just think that's basically what he's going to go with. I think, the lads have really performed well. And Donker's done well since he's come in, and I don't see Emery changing it around too much because he's obviously now a bit conservative about Boubacar Kamara because he rushed him into the Chelsea game, and I thought he shouldn't have done that. He should not have rushed him in, and ultimately he was taken off at half time, and now he's out for longer. So I think he'll go with that team, and I think it's a team more than good enough to go and get a result against Man United. Like that's basically been the team, apart from Dendonker, that's been going and getting wins against numbers of teams.
Mm-hmm. There's one who has really been standing out as well. It is Martinez because he didn't have like the best experience at Arsenal. He started to get a bit of a form. He wasn't going to get a start at 11. So he come to Aston Villa, and I think it's great as well to have a World Cup winner there in that squad too.
Absolutely, and obviously when he was with Unai Emery, he unfortunately under Bernd Leno, who was the first choice of Arsenal, and obviously that's just the way it was. And then when he was sacked, Arteta came in and he went on a great run in the FA Cup. Felt he deserved his place in the starting lineup, and then lo and behold, first game against Fulham, it was Bernard Leno, so he decided to leave. And I thought Aston Villa was a perfect choice for him because a lot of top teams had their keepers. Aston Villa was looking for one. It made sense, and since he's come to us, he's absolutely done fantastic in winning the Copa America for Argentina, winning the World Cup. And Lionel Messi even said the only reason he's won them cups is because Emi Martinez. Mm-hmm. So if the GOAT of football can say that Emi Martinez is the reason why he's winning these cups, end of debate.
Mm-hmm. One as well who's in the squad who I think as well should have an England call up is Ramsey.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of call ups for the under-21s, and he's smashing it. Like he is smashing it because that's just too low of a level for him, in my opinion. Because he's performing in the Premier League, that's the highest standard of English football, and he's not getting a call up to, the main England team. He's getting called up to the under-21s, and he's just downright outperforming everybody because it's just not his level. Like that's below him. He should be getting called to the senior team.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, especially knowing that you've got Conor Gallagher, who's in the squad, and don't get me wrong, Conor Gallagher, he was great for Crystal Palace, but he isn't the Crystal Palace player anymore. So realistically, why isn't Jacob Ramsey replacing Conor Gallagher in that squad?
I just feel like Southgate has an agenda against Aston Villa, even though he played for us.
And I can see as well a former Manchester United player, Ashley Young, in the squad as well. I think for me, Ashley Young is such a versatile player.
Yeah, like he is. When he first came back, we were all thinking, right, he's here for a bit of cover, a bit of leadership, the voice in the dressing room. Never in a million years did I think he was going to be having a outstanding season at the age of 37. Keeping Heung-min Son quiet. He kept a lot of good wingers quiet. He kept your man Mudryk, or as I like to call him, Draco Malfoy, quiet. He's kept he's kept Harvey Barnes quiet. And admittedly, I know he scored, but he still kept him quiet. Like he's kept a lot of top players quiet, just from experience, knowing when to be right place, right times. And if he got a little nudge in the back, he goes to the ground. He makes a meal out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's a proper right full, and I really love him. And I do feel Matty Cash is the first choice right back, but if you're missing a left back, that's where Ashley Young goes. And if you're missing a centre mid, Ashley Young will go there.
Mm-hmm. He could literally play anywhere, apart from a goalkeeper.
Apart from keeper, he's good to go.
Mm-hmm. And one more person, Ollie Watkins. I really like Ollie Watkins. as a striker. I think he's great. And the thing is, what I like about Ollie Watkins compared to other strikers, he does all the hard, like the way he does all the hard moves, the hard skills. It makes it look like it's easy.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Ollie Watkins, and when he came in, I was like, yes, a proper striker, Ollie Watkins, and he had a great first season, 15 goals. I was like, yeah, this is it. He's going to kick on, kick on, kick on. Now, admittedly, some fans were actually disappointed after the first season, of course, that, he's not performing to the level. And I said, well, hang on a minute. This now, he's been with us for 3 years, and each of them years, he's getting double digits. That's a premium for a Premier League striker. And what else? Like, with a two up top, I felt with Ollie Watkins, it doesn't work because he's a man who'd rather do the hard work, all the hard graft, and like you touched on. Because when he's up there by himself, he just seems to perform a lot better, and defenders can't handle him because he knows where the weak spot is. Where with the two up top, he can't go to that weak spot because someone else is already there.
Mm-hmm.
So I always felt Ollie Watkins was a fantastic striker, and I thought he was always going to excel with us, and now he is, thank God. And I know one of the lads in our podcast, Sam, he would slay Ollie Watkins every day of the week, twice on a Sunday if he had his way. And he would just call him out, and I'd say, look, give him the time. I just love Ollie Watkins. I've always been a big fan of him. And, that praise has now come back to life for me, and for him, it's come back to bite him in the arse. So, now he's just a big fan as well, and just goes to show you can't be judging people too early.
Mm-hmm. Just to ask, is Leon Bailey injured? Because I know we had a bit of a heated scrap with Lisiandro at the Villa Park, so I don't think that it won't happen again because Lisiandro's out. But I was just wondering if he was fit.
Yeah, no, he's out injured. He's, as some of us Villa fans would say in our podcast, that he's in Basingstoke. So I don't rate Bailey whatsoever. I just think he's the same as Traore. Like, I think Traore's been fantastic since he's come back. But I just feel that Bailey is it's just not working out for him.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. Whilst we was talking about your predicted 11, Nippon came into the chat.
Nippon, that Wi-Fi must be working today, lad.
I hope you're well, Nippon. Thank you for coming in. And once Nippon came in, Vibe said, well, George Michael is out the question now.
Oh, vibes. Oh, did you see in the group chat that I was calling him Rob Kardashian?
I did.
Because I for ages I did not know what Vibes looked like. When I see him put it, I was like, "Is that Vibes?" Because if it was, I just said, "Yeah, that's Rob Kardashian."
I did see it.
Oh, brilliant.
And good evening to Henry. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. Rachel did say, watch this space for Dybala to Aston Villa. Is he linked to Aston Villa?
I've seen on Twitter everywhere. I don't think there's actually an official link to Aston Villa, because I think what it is, if there's a clause in his contract, teams in Italy, it's a €20 million release clause. However, Roma can cancel that and rise his salary from 3 to 6 million. So basically double his wages. But however, if a foreign club comes in this case, obviously I'll go with Rachel's team here, our team here, Aston Villa, it's only €12 million release clause. And Roma, and in this case, Dybala has the final say, whether he wants to go there or not. Now, I don't think there's been an official link to Villa, because I've just seen people with Aston Villa pages saying, oh, Aston Villa capitalise on this, 12 million for Dybala. And no, in fairness, 12 million for Dybala is a steal. But I don't think there's an official link. I've not seen an official link anywhere of Dybala to Villa. But I think where it also came from was that Emi Martinez said he loves it here and he's trying to get all the Argentinians to come to Villa. So that's hence where this probably comes from. So then people start looking at the details of the contracts of other players and everything else. So, like I said, I don't think there's an official link to the ball. I'd love him at Aston Villa, don't get me wrong, but I don't know about that one. It's a good shout, Rachel, and I'll back you on it. So let's see where it goes.
Good evening, Daz. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. I'm gonna show my predicted lineup as well. It isn't much change considered, from. Well, I don't think there's any change from the Tottenham game actually, but I've had De Gea in goal, Diogo Dalot on the left back with Wan-Bissaka on the right, Shaw and Lindelof as the centre back partnership. Eriksen and Casemiro in the pivot with Bruno Fernandes, Sancho on the left, Antony on the right, and Rashford up top. Let me know as well, Manchester United fans, what you think of that lineup too. For me, it's not something I would personally do, but I know that there is a few injuries at the moment, and we're going to have to shift things around a little bit too. But if I was going to have it my decision, I probably would have had Malacia playing over Dalot there on that left-hand side. And I think one what could be a potential shout would be potentially even having Sabitzer playing there for Eriksen.
Who? Sorry?
Sabitzer.
Oh, Sabitzer. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I personally would love to see it put Luke Shaw left back and Harry Maguire centre back just for us.
Oh, of course you would. But I'm sorry to burden your parade there, Martin, but Harry Maguire got injured.
The whole league is disappointed. He's the GOAT.
As I like to sing, Harry Maguire, my defence is terrified.
I see what you did there.
That's what I sing. But Reese has said, I agree with this lineup. However, I am thinking Malacia and Sabitzer into the team. I agree. Sabitzer energy will be wiser here than Eriksen. I think for me, Eriksen has been great, but I think knowing that he's had a long injury, I believe he got injured around the January, and he's only come back in the last month or so. So I don't want to risk him too much. That's why I'd rather have Sabitzer into there. To be honest, even if Anthony Martial was winning, is fully fit, I'd probably have him in there over Sancho.
You would not, because his legs like glass. He gets injured every time he plays.
Yeah, well, I suppose you could have him in for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 20 good minutes.
20 good minutes, yeah. But this is the problem with the squad that we've got on tonight. It's the same that we had with Tottenham, and we bottled a 2-0 lead. And I don't know about you, but I've always said that the problem is with a 2-0 lead is it's so much more uncomfortable than a 1-goal lead, because you kind of feel like you drop a little bit and think, we're ahead by 2-0, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you get complacent, and you're absolutely right, because then all it takes is, one goal from the team and the momentum shifts. All of a sudden now you're on the back foot, like, oh shit, now we have to protect another goal lead here. And you're dead right. I feel I'm the same as you, that 2-0 is always a dangerous lead in football. You need to keep your foot on the gas and punish teams, even if you're 2-0 up, 3-0 up, 4-0 up, it doesn't matter. So when you're 2-0 up, you should definitely be keeping your foot on the gas and go search for that third. Then you're in complete comfort control, and that's when confidence starts going up. You start moving the ball around, chances become easier. But you're dead right. 2-0 is the most dangerous lead in football. It's so uncomfortable just watching
it. Absolutely. Yeah, so that was my lineup. I don't think, as I say, there's going to be much changes. From what we've read, Garnacho could potentially be back. But Garnacho never starts, so he does always come off the bench. But that will give that a bit more leniency there for Jadon Sancho at least. So we'll go into some of the questions that we do have. There has been quite a few questions in there, and we'll start with Reese's question. Is one question: how much for Douglas Luiz and Jacob Ramsey? Two, you've already answered about the season before. And And what's your key summer transfers?
Okay, so how much for Louise and Ramsey? Get lost, not for sale.
That's what I feel about Douglas Luiz anyway.
Yeah, they're not
Heartbroken.
for sale. Not happening. Anyway, like I said, I've already answered Emery. Do I think Villa can sneak into the top 4? No. I think it's too far stretched. Key summer transfers. That's a tough one. Probably a right-sided midfielder. I think that's been the real big show that Emery really wants, is a right-sided midfielder. And Neco Williams is the man from Atletico Bilbao that he's a really big fan of. So, or Guendouzi from Marseille. So he's, that wide area is where that'd be the key one for us.
Rather, how do United stop inviting teams back when you're 1 or 2-0 up? We always seem to do it when we're not 1-0 up. Because we've had plenty of games this season where we won 1-0. It's when we go on to the 2-0 up, and that's, for me, is that you've got to go in 3-0 up, probably at half time at that point, because when it comes to the second half, we're very lazy and very sloppy. So that's what. There was a lot of chances by Manchester United against Tottenham in that first half. Bruno Fernandes missed a bad chance in the second half as well. So it's just about killing the chances. And I think for me is to leave a lot less space, because you can see that Diogo Dalot, he's been playing as a left back, and you can see that's where Manchester United has been getting exploited on Dalot's side. It always happens every time Dalot plays. I know that just sounds like it at that point I'm hating on Dalot, but it's true. That's where all of the attacking threat of every team who plays against us, it comes from Dalot's side. So get that extra bit of cover. Luke Shaw, help him that little bit more to try and make sure that there's that extra little bit more space. But under the same breath, I do think it's unfair for a player to come out of position to leave space there to help out a fullback. So we'll just have to see. Let's see. Next question here. Oh, I've already got that one answered from Niall. Okay, so we'll go into this bit with Niall. Should Unai Emery be shortlisted for Manager of the Year?
Read the question, Aston Villa.
Because he asked about Villa being near the bottom and now up in 6th place. Should you be?
He's definitely within a shout. The question is, should be shortlisted. Yeah, he should be shortlisted. You know, considering where he was, taking us from 16th up to 6th. Like, that's, and there's that short amount of time, that's an incredible achievement. Definitely shortlisted for sure. Definitely not.
Absolutely. I definitely agree that Unai Emery should be shortlisted. What other ones do you think should be shortlisted? Because we always know that Pep Guardiola and Arteta's going to get shortlisted anyway, so we might as well just put them into the equation.
Eddie Howe would definitely be shortlisted.
Eddie Howe, and I think De Zerbi probably would be shortlisted too.
Yeah. I think Ten Hag will probably get a shortlist because he's won the Carabao Cup and he has United in 4th and he's in an FA Cup final, so he'll definitely be one to be shortlisted.
Is there any other ones you'd maybe shortlist? Potentially Thomas Frank, maybe?
Not really, no. Kind of the same season for him. I'd say Gary O'Neill from Bournemouth.
That's a great shout.
He's really got them playing, last while of keeping them up in the Premier League. So I know he won't win it, but he should definitely get a mention. He's done really well.
One more I was thinking would be Marco Silva from Fulham.
Had you told me that before the World Cup, I'd say yeah. But because they're probably so high up because of the form they had before the World Cup, I'm a bit 50-50. So I don't know about him, but he should on paper, but at the same time, he's kind of dipped.
Brusher's got a question for you on what's next for Coutinho.
Well, he's injured at the moment, so but I could kind of see him going back to Brazil in the summer. I don't know
It's a
what it
shame
is.
for
I just
Coutinho, though. It's not worked out for him at Villa, really, has it? Because I think Gerrard's brought him in, and he
he
had
had
a
a good.
couple of good games, but
He
apart
did. He
from
had
that,
a great few games. We were all singing his name. We had a great chant from him and everything. And he actually, funny enough, he picked up a little bit of form for Emery, but just unfortunately got injured. So, and I just think it's going to be hard for him to get back into that starting 11. And I don't know, if for some reason I could just see him going back to Brazil in the summer.
yeah, that could would be like Flamingo, maybe. Oh, I actually don't know.
Corinthians, I think, was the team.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Question from Henry: what players are needed in the summer for United?
I love this every year with United fans. Sorry, go on, Maisy. Don't mind me.
Striker would be a big one. I would say a backup for Casemiro. People would say box to box midfielder, but I would say no if we sign Sabitzer permanently. Right back, and I'm gonna go with an unpopular one. I'd say goalkeeper as well.
You definitely need a centre back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think a centre back could be a good option as well. I just think for me,
Well, answer me this, Maisie. Who as centre back are you going to rely?
who am I gonna rely?
Who are you relying on centre back? If you take out Martinez and Varane, who are constantly Martinez is out for a while with injury, but Varane's just injury prone. So who are you relying on?
Harry Maguire.
So you need a centre back.
You know, it says a lot though that even before like Harry Maguire had done a couple of games, that Ten Hag rather play Casemiro as a centre back and Luke
And you'd
Shaw
rather
as
play
a
Luke
centre
Shaw
back.
as a centre back, yeah.
He'd
Absolutely.
rather play both of them, and I do agree that we do need a centre back as well. But then I'm literally Dolo's not signed his contract yet, so he's gonna probably maybe out in the summer. De
Who hasn't signed his contract, sorry?
Dalo hasn't.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that now.
Neither has De Gea, so he could be gone in the summer too.
And do they have an option of like, I know United are big on this, do they have a year extension trigger clause?
I think they're fully gone.
To be gone?
Oh. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
As well as Rashford too. But I think Rashford will end up extending, to be honest. I think they are in talks with Rashford. Because there was Luke Shaw who was also out for contract, but Luke Shaw's recently extended.
Yeah, seeing that. Does Rashford have a year trigger extension as well?
I think he's already had it.
He's already had it, so he's up if he doesn't agree to it.
Yeah. And PSG's been sniffing around for him, so that's why I've said the ones I've said at the moment. I know we definitely do need a centre back though. And Reece and Brush has already mentioned about Timber being a potential option. I like Timber. I'd take Timber in a heartbeat, to be honest.
Simba? Sure, he's in the Lion King.
What?
He's in the Lion King.
Yeah. Rachel, how will Man United fans act towards Ashley Young? I think Ashley Young will get great applause because Manchester United fans still really like Ashley Young. He's won numerous of different things at Manchester United, so they do see him, they do highly respect him, so I don't think he'll have any bad atmosphere from the fans.
No, because he was never really a bad apple at Man United. Like, he never really forced his way out of the club or anything like that. So that's one thing I give credit for Ashley Young. He's always respected every club he's been at. So I think the last time when we played at Old Trafford, which was, funny enough, actually, it was 2021 in the league, Ashley Young got a great reception. So you'll definitely get it again.
Agreed. And we'll finish off with Ravi's question here on what's your best defence when fully fit?
Good question. Now, does this include the keeper or just like the back four?
You can include the keeper.
Well, Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
Right back, Matty Cash. Konza, Mings, Moreno. They're the best when fully fit. Carlos, I'm not too sure on Carlos. Like Carlos was doing brilliant up until his injury, but because Konza and Mings are performing so well, Carlos has been finding it hard to get back in. But mainly that's because he's trying to get his match fitness back up. So that'll be a tough ask. But funny enough, Carlos was at Sevilla when Emery was there, and he was a starting centre back. So it's probably just taken a while for him to fully heal that Achilles.
Yeah, I do think though that Costa is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but I just think for me is that you need to have a good run of games to decide if he's a good enough to be in the starting 11. And when I've always said that to have a great to be great in the league, to win trophies, you need to have great connections with your centre backs and to the goalkeeper as a bit like a triangle. And if that works, you don't change that. No, it's very rare you see centre back partnerships being changed in the league. But if
That's
it
it.
works, and if it works, why would you ruin something? Not just because there's a player who's a great player by his history and his CV, rather than ones who are actually working together right now.
That's it. You're dead right because it's just goes to show through Premier League history, English football history, any football history, that when you have a centre back partnership that works so well together, you don't change it because that's the one place that the two centre halves need to have understanding. So you never change it. You just don't change it, and that's just common knowledge. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Absolutely. And hey there, Andrew. Thanks for coming in. Hope that you are well. So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Martin, for coming on. It's been a really good show. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks. It's okay.
that's our channel there. So like obviously, it's not just my channel. It's also myself, Rich Sutherland, Kevin, George, Sam, Rich, and Mark, who does the behind the scenes stuff of the thumbnails and everything. So there's a collect few of us. It's not just myself. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah. So I put the link in the description anyway for the channel Villa Park Pod, and I've also put your Twitter handle on there as well. So you can check the channel out, give a subscribe as well, and thank you very much for coming on as well.
No, absolutely been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Great to talk about Aston Villa and for my sins here, Man United, because in our family, on my mother's side anyway, it's anybody but Man United. So like, don't be silly, Martin. You are like the Justin Timberlake. I'm taking that one as a compliment. I'll take that as a compliment all day long.
What's your score prediction? Because I can see Niall's gone for 2-1 for United, Rachel's gone for 1-1, and so's Andrew.
I have to be optimistic. I've got to back my team, unfortunately, Maisy, so I'm going with 2-1 Aston Villa. I think it will be an Ollie Watkins back on the score sheet. And I'm going to go with Jacob Ramsey to get himself a goal. So. I know you're going to back your Man United team here, so this is obviously where the confliction starts.
No, I'm not going to do it, especially now who Rabi's gone for a 3-2 win for United. And you know when that happens, we're losing. It's just one of them. I'm going to have to go with the same with Henry. I was thinking a 2-2 draw myself, to be honest. I think we'll end up going 2-0 at half-time and then we'll fluke it again.
Is this what it's come to for Man United fans? They're not exactly confident now coming up against Aston Villa fans.
We don't think. Oh, to be honest, like I'm one of the type of people. Like last season, when I was doing podcasts, I was like, "We're losing this game. I'm gonna go for a 3-0 loss." That's how I was thinking every single game, and I think that I felt a bit more confident this season. But the way Villa are playing, and if you want me to be honest, since the Carabao Cup win, we haven't been fantastic. We've had a couple of injuries, and that should still be inexcusable. But I just don't think at this moment in time we've been overly good enough to get a win, and that game against Tottenham, we should have buried that game.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I just love that, and I've always said this, that when Man United are winning week in week out, I actually never hear a word about the Glazers. But when you're losing, all of a sudden you start pointing the finger at the Glazers, and I just think it's just funny. Just from an outside looking in, I just think it's funny.
I understand why you do think that as well, and I think the thing is that's what the social media is like. A lot of United fans, and this is what I criticise with Manchester United fans is don't be Glazers out when there's issues with you're losing a game, when the transfer window isn't what you want it to be. Don't screen Glazers out then. You screen Glazers out every single game. Like the people who actually go to the game, they actually have like Glazers out, banners up and stuff, and I do respect that. And when I've been to the games myself, they do chant Glazers out even when you're winning. But it's the people who are on social media who lets it down because they're only chanting Glazers out when it suits their agendas.
That's it. Like, and I just think you have spent the money. Like, you've spent loads of money. So, like, what?
Yeah.
In my opinion, what more do Man United fans want? Like, you're going to get a Varane, you're going to get a Sancho, you're going to get a Casemiro. Like, you've signed some top players. Like, so they've spent the money. It's not as if they haven't. Like, as a Villa fan, I'd love it if we were able to spend 100 million on Jadon Sancho and 100 million on this player here and there. But we just don't have that resources to do that because we haven't got that European football. Where United have that pull.
I think even if we didn't have the European football, you still see like we could probably get that pull because of the club, the actual club, as in like, oh, it's Manchester United. But I just think for me is that I understand why people want Glazers out. Is I know we spent a lot in the transfer window and we've had like a lot of debt getting put into it. We're in over £1 billion debt at this point, and
But so are a lot of clubs. Look at Barcelona. Like, look at the
Barcelona,
ridiculous money they owe, but they're still able to spend. In my opinion, it's the biggest of biggest clubs that seem to get away with this type of thing. Because when you look at a Reading, a Wigan, they're getting deducted points for financial fair play. But yet, a Premier League team is not going to get done for financial fair play for, I don't know, for what reason. There must be some sort of loophole that they're able to trigger. I know Chelsea triggered one. They done well.
And as well, on top of that, you're looking at Juventus. They've had their point reductions reverted.
Italian football has always been a bit of a corruption and a scandal, in my opinion.
Yes.
If you ever have time, Maisy, actually watch Bad Sport, right, on Netflix. And there's the Football Gate one. It's about Juventus referee scandals and all that. It's actually a very good watch. Trust me, Italian football is just pure scandal and corruption everywhere.
I agree. To be honest, I've read I've seen a few things with what happened over the years with Milan and Juventus and a few other clubs as well. What happened in the early 2000s, and that shouldn't really go as it is. And I do agree there is a lot of rules that is getting a lot of loopholes. Like we've seen recently with Manchester City as well. Like they've apparently breached so many rules. I think I read that they've had over 100 breaches or something.
Yeah, and they're getting away with it. It's just, I don't know how to do it.
Exactly. But I just want to say thank you very much, Martin, for coming on today, and good luck for tomorrow for the game. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And also as well, good luck for the season. To be honest, out the teams who are in the top 6, Villa, for me, I'd rather have Villa in the Europa League spots over a lot of the teams around. So best of luck for the season ahead.
Cheers. Thanks very much, and thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and to answer some of the questions from some of the Man United fans, which I wasn't really expecting. So thanks for them as well, and best of luck to yourselves for the rest of the season and tomorrow. And if we do win, trust me, I'll be very vocal in that group chat. I always am when Villa are winning. So
I'll make
we'll see
sure
how
I
we
keep
go.
an eye out. But yeah, thank you very, very much for that, Martin, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.